Keep watching, because what's next was never meant to go public. Few places in the world hold as much mystery and power as that grand white building in Washington, D.C. To most, it's simply the heart of American leadership, a place of speeches, ceremonies, and strategy. But beneath its shining floors lies a world few have ever seen, and even fewer can imagine. Deep below the ground, where the sound of footsteps fades and history whispers through stone walls, exists a maze of tunnels, chambers, and secrets that were never meant for the public eye. Some say these hidden corridors were designed for safety, escape routes for times of crisis. Others believe they hold the tools and technology that have quietly shaped global decisions. Over the years, construction crews, guards, and even a few curious insiders have spoken in cautious tones about what lies below fortified bunkers that could withstand a nuclear strike. Secret meeting rooms where no signal can enter or leave, and files so classified that not even the highest officials can access them without clearance. Imagine walking through those corridors, the hum of machines, the faint smell of metal and stone, and the eerie sense that you're stepping into a timeline that runs parallel to the one we know. Down there, every door might hold a story. Stories of crisis management, covert operations, or experiments that never made it to daylight. But perhaps the most fascinating part isn't the architecture or the security. It's the question of why such secrecy exists. Maybe it's to protect the world from chaos. Maybe it's to protect the truth from being misunderstood. Or maybe, just maybe, what's hidden beneath that historic house would change how we see power itself. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. Beneath that iconic white structure lies a reminder that history has layers. Some we study, some we live, and some that remain sealed away, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. And when that day comes, the world will be stunned. Beneath the surface of power lies a hidden world, a world built not only from bricks and steel, but from secrecy, strategy, and survival. The grand white mansion that stands tall in Washington, D.C., is more than just a symbol of leadership and democracy. It is a carefully constructed stage, designed to project calm authority above ground while concealing layers of mystery below. What most people see is a place of political speeches, press briefings, and national ceremonies. But what they don't see, what they're not meant to see, is a complex underground system that reflects centuries of fear, power, and preparation. To understand this hidden world, one must look beyond the surface image of the nation's capital, beyond the carefully trimmed lawns, guarded gates, and shining marble halls. Power has never existed in the open. True power operates quietly, strategically, and often invisibly. For as long as governments have existed, the instinct to protect, to conceal, and to control has been inseparable from the instinct to lead. The White House, the most recognized building in the United States, is no exception. When construction first began in the late 18th century, no one could have imagined what it would eventually become. A fortress, a command center, and a labyrinth of secure rooms hidden far beneath the public eye. Yet even then, the idea of protection was embedded in its very design. As wars, crises, and conspiracies unfolded over the centuries, each era added a new layer, sometimes literally, to the building's foundations. What began as a simple presidential residence grew into one of the most complex and fortified structures on Earth. Beneath the polished floors and historical rooms lies a network that has been shaped by every major turning point in American history. During times of war, these underground spaces were expanded and strengthened. During moments of peace, they were refined and upgraded, quietly adapting to new technologies and threats. Beneath the calm image projected to the public the heart of government has always pulsed with hidden movement. A silent choreography of security officers, engineers, and analysts working in secrecy. In these hidden corridors, there are rooms that never appear on official maps, doors that lead to nowhere for the untrained eye, and systems that operate without a sound. It's not just about bunkers or escape routes. It's an entire infrastructure of invisible readiness. Communication lines, surveillance hubs, intelligence archives, and command stations form a second government beneath the first, one that functions out of necessity, not publicity. The reason is simple. Power must always anticipate danger, and the greatest advantage in any crisis is what the world doesn't see coming. The idea of underground power isn't new, but the scale beneath the White House is unlike anything else. Imagine descending into a maze of concrete and steel, where light becomes dim and sound turns hollow. Every corridor feels calculated, no wasted space, no random doors. Each path connects to another, forming an intricate system designed to keep the nation's leadership safe under any imaginable threat. From nuclear war to biological attack, from natural disaster to political turmoil, the underground world is built to endure when the surface cannot. Those who have worked close to it speak of its precision. Engineers describe reinforced walls thicker than those of any public building. Communications experts mention rooms shielded from every type of electromagnetic interference, and guards recall long corridors that disappear into darkness, where only a handful of authorized personnel can go. The deeper you go, the more the atmosphere changes, not just physically, but psychologically. It is a place where time feels slower, where every sound carries weight, and where even silence seems to have meaning. But beyond the technical design, what truly defines this hidden network is its purpose. It's not simply a place to hide. It's a place to govern, in secret, if necessary. In moments of chaos, when the world above loses order, the hidden world below ensures continuity. Down there, power doesn't sleep. It plans, it reacts, and it survives. That's the essence of what lies beneath. Not darkness, but control. An unbroken chain of authority that can function even when the visible world collapses. This dual existence, the visible and the hidden, mirrors the nature of leadership itself. Every government has two faces, the one it shows the public and the one it guards fiercely. The public face speaks of transparency, democracy, and accountability. The hidden face speaks in the language of strategy, intelligence, and survival. Both are necessary, and both feed into each other. Without the surface, power loses legitimacy. Without the hidden depth, it loses security. The White House, more than any other building, embodies that delicate balance. If you think about it, this is true not just for nations, but for human nature. We all maintain a surface, a presentation of order, confidence, and control, while beneath it lie the unspoken mechanisms that sustain us fears, doubts, and plans we keep secret to protect ourselves. The White House, in this sense, is a reflection of the collective human instinct to survive by concealing vulnerability. The underground world beneath it is the ultimate metaphor for how power and secrecy coexist. Yet, as much as this hidden world represents safety, it also represents something more complex: the burden of secrecy. For every wall built underground, a question echoes above: what is being hidden? Security can easily transform into silence, and silence into suspicion. Every generation of leaders has faced that moral tension. To what extent should a government protect its people without revealing its methods? How much secrecy is necessary for safety, and how much becomes a weapon against truth? The answer is never simple. The hidden layers of the White House were not built out of malice, but out of fear. Fear of war, assassination, invasion, and chaos. But over time, fear evolves. Once structures of protection are in place, they rarely disappear, they grow, adapt, and sometimes outlive their original purpose. What began as a bunker to save a president might become a nerve center for covert operations. What started as a communication tunnel could transform into a surveillance hub, and somewhere along the line between defense and control begins to blur. That's what makes the concept of underground power so compelling. It is both necessary and unsettling. It reassures and disturbs in equal measure. The knowledge that a government has the ability to survive anything brings comfort to some and suspicion to others. The same tunnels that could shelter leaders in crisis could also symbolize the walls that separate them from the people they serve. Still, the hidden world beneath the White House is not only a story of secrecy, but of continuity. Through wars, scandals, and revolutions in technology, those underground halls have remained steadfast. Presidents have changed, ideologies have shifted, but the core idea, that power must be preserved at all costs, remains untouched. The existence of such a system shows how deeply the architects of history believed in preparedness. They knew that the world above could crumble, but the machinery of governance could not. Consider for a moment how this secret world might feel to someone who has walked its corridors. The dim lighting reflecting off steel walls, the quiet hum of ventilation echoing through the hallways, the faint vibration of servers, and communication lines that never rest. Every inch of that space would remind you that history is not just written in books or proclaimed in speeches. It is engineered, maintained, and sometimes buried beneath the ground. Even though much of it remains classified, the occasional glimpse we get into this hidden infrastructure only deepens the fascination. Over the decades, construction reports, historical archives, and testimonies from those who worked in restricted zones have revealed fragments. A reinforced bunker here, an elevator that descends farther than expected, a corridor that leads nowhere on official blueprints. Each revelation adds another piece to the puzzle, confirming what many have long suspected, that the White House is not just a home or an office, but an entire underground system of control and communication. If you could peel back the layers of the earth beneath it, you would see a physical timeline of America's fears and ambitions. You'd find early tunnels built for emergencies during times of war, expanded bunkers during the Cold War, and later, digital infrastructure designed for cyber defense in the modern age. Each layer tells a story, not of presidents or politics, but of how power adapts to survive new threats. And yet, even with all our technological progress, the most powerful element of this hidden world remains its invisibility. What we cannot see has always held the greatest sway over us. Secrecy, in many ways, is the oldest form of power. It creates curiosity, fear, and respect all at once. Those who understand the art of secrecy control perception, and perception is the foundation of authority. That is why the existence of tunnels and secret chambers beneath the White House is more than a matter of architectural curiosity. It is a symbol of how power has been designed to function. The visible White House represents leadership, the invisible one represents endurance. One governs in the light, the other ensures that governance can continue in the dark. And so, beneath the speeches, the flags, and the public image, there remains a parallel world that never sleeps. A network of walls, corridors, and sealed doors where silence speaks louder than any announcement. It's a world that reflects the most basic truth of civilization, that every nation, no matter how open it claims to be, needs a hidden core to survive. Without it, order would collapse at the first sign of crisis. The deeper question, however, is not what lies beneath, but why it must remain hidden. Maybe it's because some knowledge carries too much weight for public understanding. Maybe it's because transparency, for all its virtue, can sometimes endanger the very thing it seeks to protect. Or perhaps it's because the mystique of secrecy itself sustains the aura of authority. When people believe there is more beneath the surface, they look upward with a mixture of awe and uncertainty. And that emotional balance is precisely what keeps power stable. Still, mystery cuts both ways. The same secrecy that protects can also isolate. The walls built to secure can also imprison. Those who dwell too long in hidden worlds risk losing sight of the humanity above. That, perhaps, is the ultimate paradox of power, that the deeper it burrows for safety, the further it drifts from the people it was meant to serve. And yet, despite all this complexity, the idea remains breathtaking. Beneath one of the most famous buildings in the world lies a self-sustaining system designed to preserve the leadership of a nation through any imaginable catastrophe. It is the physical embodiment of resilience, a structure that can outlast wars, disasters, and the passage of time. In the end, when we speak of the hidden world beneath the White House, we are not just talking about concrete tunnels or fortified chambers. We are talking about the anatomy of power itself, how it conceals to protect, how it hides to endure, and how it thrives on what remains unseen. Every whisper of mystery surrounding it reminds us that history is not only written in plain sight, but also etched in the shadows of the unseen. Beneath the surface of power lies that hidden world, a network of secrets and silent operations that continues to shape events without ever stepping into the spotlight. It is a world that has been expanding quietly for centuries, one that will likely continue long after those above have come and gone. For as long as humanity builds systems of leadership, there will always be something beneath them, invisible, protected, and waiting, ensuring that even when the visible world falters, the hidden one endures. True mystery has never lived in the open. It does not reveal itself through headlines, ceremonies, or grand displays of power. Instead, it resides in silence, in the spaces between what is said and what is left unsaid. Throughout history, the world has been guided as much by what people have known as by what they have not. The greatest mysteries are not those hidden by chance, but those buried by choice. They are protected, guarded, and deliberately kept out of sight, because revealing them would change the way humanity perceives power itself. In the heart of every empire, beneath the speeches and symbols, lies a truth carefully contained. It is not that leaders wish to deceive, but that power demands a certain veil. Transparency may be a virtue, but secrecy is a necessity. The deeper truths of power cannot survive the light of full exposure. They are complex, fragile, and often too dangerous to be misunderstood. And so, from the earliest kingdoms to the most advanced governments, secrecy has remained the silent partner of authority. When one looks at the seat of power, at the buildings that define nations, the offices where history is shaped, the rooms where decisions are made, it's easy to believe that everything important happens in front of cameras and microphones. But that belief is an illusion, a necessary performance for the world's eyes. Behind those moments of public display lies an intricate process of concealment. Every announcement is crafted, every statement weighed, every truth filtered through layers of consideration before it ever reaches the public. The mystery lies not in what is said, but in what has been chosen not to be said. To understand this is to understand the real architecture of power, one built not only of stone and policy, but of silence and restraint. Every government, every institution, every powerful individual carries within them two realities, the one the world is permitted to see, and the one that remains hidden behind closed doors. And it is that second reality, the concealed one, that truly defines the course of history. Think for a moment about the most influential events in human history. Wars, alliances, revolutions, discoveries. How many of them began in secret? How many were the product of conversations that never appeared in any official record? The visible story is only the shadow cast by a much larger, unseen truth. The world moves not only by public decision, but by private intention. The greatest shifts in human destiny are often born in rooms without witnesses, in plans buried beneath layers of plausible deniability. True mystery, then, is not the absence of information. It is the control of information. It is the careful art of revealing just enough to maintain order, while withholding enough to preserve power. In that balance lies the true genius of governance. Those who hold power understand that too much truth can be as dangerous as too little. An unfiltered truth can destabilize nations, ignite fear, or reveal vulnerabilities to enemies. Secrecy, therefore, is not always deception. Sometimes it is defense. It is the armor that keeps a system intact in a world where chaos is always waiting to erupt. And yet, secrecy also holds a darker side. When something is hidden too long, it begins to take on a life of its own. The human mind fills the silence with speculation, imagination, and fear. What begins as protection can evolve into paranoia. When people sense that truths are being concealed, curiosity turns into suspicion, and suspicion into distrust. Throughout history, civilizations have been torn apart not only by lies, but by the unbearable weight of unspoken truths. That is why the relationship between mystery and power is so delicate. Power needs mystery to survive, but it also risks being consumed by it. The deeper truths, the ones deliberately buried, carry both strength and danger. They protect those who understand them, but they threaten those who cannot. This is why every government, every secret agency, every empire has wrestled with the same dilemma. How much truth is too much for the world to know? If one could peel back the surface of modern power, one would find layers of secrets accumulated over centuries. Some are small, tactical decisions, confidential communications, guarded innovations. Others are vast, networks of intelligence, long-term plans, classified research, and agreements that reshape the global balance without a single public announcement. These are not accidents of secrecy, they are its purpose. The world above functions because the world below remains unseen. But the most haunting part of this structure is not what has been hidden, it's why it has been hidden. There is a profound difference between secrets of protection and secrets of manipulation. The former exist to defend, the latter to control. History has seen both. Behind every major political institution, there are stories of moral compromise, of choices made in the shadows that could never survive public scrutiny, even if made for the greater good. That's the paradox of leadership. To protect the people, sometimes truths must be buried that the people could never accept. Imagine a leader faced with a crisis so severe that revealing the full truth could trigger global panic. What would they choose? Honesty or stability? Most would choose stability, not out of deceit but out of duty. The truth, in its rawest form, is not always fit for the world. It must be filtered, measured, and controlled, not because it is false, but because it is too powerful. That's the essence of deliberate concealment, not lying, but managing the weight of reality. Yet power, once accustomed to secrecy, finds it difficult to stop. The act of concealment becomes habitual. What began as necessity turns into instinct. Over time, an entire system can evolve around the idea that truth is too precious for public hands. Documents are locked away, archives sealed, operations erased. The mystery deepens, layer upon layer, until even those within the system no longer know where the full truth lies. It becomes a labyrinth of half-truths, a place where even the guardians of secrecy lose their way. And perhaps that is the ultimate mystery, that even those who create the secrets may one day become prisoners of them. When a system becomes too secretive, it begins to feed on itself. Files vanish not to protect the world, but to protect the system. The truth becomes less about survival and more about preservation of control. And somewhere along the line, the purpose of concealment, once noble, now self-serving, loses its moral compass. Still, the mystery persists because it must. Every generation inherits both the truths and the secrets of the one before it. Some are released, others remain locked away. Each decision about what to reveal and what to bury shapes the course of nations. The visible story of democracy, progress, and freedom coexists with an invisible story of strategy, intelligence, and control. Together, they form the real narrative of human civilization, a narrative built as much on silence as on speech. But the question remains, why does mystery captivate us so deeply? Perhaps because it mirrors our own nature. Just as nations conceal their vulnerabilities, so do individuals. We all have our own layers. The things we show and the things we hide. The desire to know what is hidden beneath power is, in truth, a reflection of our desire to understand ourselves. The unknown fascinates us because it reminds us of the limits of our perception. Every secret we uncover feels like reclaiming a piece of control over an unpredictable world. And yet, the pursuit of truth is both noble and dangerous. For every hidden truth that brings clarity, another brings chaos. The moment a secret is revealed, it loses its power. But it also changes everything it touches. The world above ground depends on balance, and too much revelation can shatter it. That's why the deepest truths of power remain buried, not because they are false, but because they are too potent. Still, history teaches us that no secret remains buried forever. Time, technology, and human curiosity are relentless forces. Every locked door eventually rusts, every sealed file finds its way to light. The truth, no matter how deeply buried, has a strange persistence. It waits, it lingers, and when the moment is right, it resurfaces. And when it does, it reshapes everything. The revelations that once seemed unthinkable become part of the new normal. The mystery fades, only to be replaced by new layers of secrecy. That cycle, concealment, discovery, revelation, renewal, is what keeps civilization moving forward. Without mystery, there would be no curiosity. Without secrecy, there would be no protection. But between them lies the fragile line where power either earns trust or loses it. When secrecy is used with wisdom, it preserves stability. When abused, it breeds corruption and fear. The true test of power is how it handles its secrets, whether it buries them to protect or to deceive. Even so, the allure of what's hidden will never fade. People will always wonder what lies behind the walls of authority, beneath the great buildings of state, inside the vaults of classified history. Because we instinctively understand that the story we are told is only one version, the surface version. The real story, the one that explains why events unfold the way they do, lies beneath. And that story, though unseen, is often the one that truly shapes our world. The deeper truths of power are not found in speeches, but in silence. They are not broadcasted. They are guarded. They exist in the gap between what we are told and what we sense is being withheld. And while we may never know them fully, their presence is undeniable. They remind us that every visible action casts an invisible shadow, and in that shadow lies the real mechanism of control. Perhaps the most humbling realization of all is that mystery itself is not an enemy. It is part of the structure of existence. Just as the universe hides its deepest workings in invisible dimensions, so too does human society operate through layers of the seen and unseen. To uncover everything would not only destroy mystery, it would destroy meaning. We need the hidden to give context to the visible. We need questions to make sense of answers. So, when we look at the symbols of power, the grand buildings, the guarded institutions, the smiling faces of leadership, we must remember that what we see is only the surface of something vast and intricate. Beneath that surface are rooms we may never enter, files we may never read, and decisions we may never know were made. And that's not just the nature of politics, it's the nature of power itself. True mystery lies not in what's seen, but in what's deliberately concealed. It is the quiet force that governs the rhythm of history, the unseen current beneath the calm waters of order. And though it may frustrate our curiosity, it also protects the fragile balance that keeps the world from chaos. The deeper truths of power, those silent, buried realities, will always wait patiently, hidden beneath the surface, shaping history from the shadows until the day they are finally brought to light.